This is Audible.
Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Calculated in Death by J.D. Robb, performed by Susan Erickson. Poverty wants much, but avarice, everything. Publilius Cyrus. Money without honor is a disease. Balzac. Chapter 1. A killer wind hurled bitter November air, toothy little knives to gnaw at the bones. She'd forgotten her gloves, but that was just as well, as she'd have ruined yet another overpriced pair once she'd sealed up. For now, Lieutenant Eve Dallas stuck her frozen hands in the warm pockets of her coat and looked down at death. The woman lay at the bottom of the short stairway, leading down to what appeared to be a lower-level apartment. From the angle of the head, Eve didn't need the medical examiner to tell her the neck was broken. Eve judged her as middle 40s. Not wearing a coat, Eve mused, though the vicious wind wouldn't trouble her now. Dressed for business, suit jacket, turtleneck, pants, good boots with low heels. Probably fashionable, but Eve would leave that call to her partner when Detective Peabody arrived on scene. No jewelry, at least not visible. Not even a wrist unit. No handbag, no briefcase or file bag. No litter, no graffiti in the stairwell. Nothing but the body slumped against the wall. At length, she turned. As she spoke, Eve opened her field kit, took out her sealant. She coated her hands, her boots, as she surveyed the area. This sector of New York's East Side held quiet, at least at this hour. Most apartment windows and storefronts were dark, businesses closed, even the bars. There would be some after-hours establishments still rolling, but not close enough for witnesses. They'd do a canvass, but odds were slim someone would pop out who'd seen what happened here. Add in the bitter cold, as 2060 seemed determined to go out clinging with its icy fingers, most people would be tucked up inside, in the warm. Just as she'd been, curled up against Rourke before the call. That's what you get for being a cop, she thought. Or in Rourke's case, for marrying one. Sealed, she went down the stairs, studied the door to the unit first. Then moved in to crouch beside the body. Yeah, middle 40s, light brown hair clipped back from her face. A little bruising on the right cheekbone, some dried blood on the split lip. Both ears pierced, so if she'd been wearing earrings, the killer had taken the time to remove them rather than rip them off. Lifting the hand, Eve noted a braided flesh on the heel. Like a rug burn, she mused, before she pressed the right thumb to her ID pad. Dickinson, Marta, she read. Mixed-race female, age 46. Married Dickinson Denzel. 2 offspring, and an Upper East Side address. Employed Brewer, Kyle, and Martini, an accounting firm with an office 8 blocks away. As she took out her gauges, her short brown hair fluttered in the wind. She hadn't thought, especially on a night like this. That's a question. This unit's being rehabbed. It's empty. That's handy, isn't it? The way she's in the corner there, she shouldn't have been spotted until morning. Why would a mugger care when? That's another question. Following that would be, if he did, how'd he know this unit's unoccupied? Lives in the area? Peabody suggested. Is part of the rehab crew? Maybe. I want to look inside, but we'll talk to the 911 callers first. Go ahead and notify the ME.
The sweepers?
Not yet. Eve climbed the stairs, walked to the black and white. Even as she signaled to the cop inside, a man pushed out of the back. "Are you in charge?" Words tumbled over each other in a rush of nerves. "Lieutenant Dallas. Mr. Whitestone?" "Yes, You notified the police?" Yes, as soon as we found her. You own this unit?" "Yes." A sharply attractive man in his early 30s, he took a long breath, expelling it in a chilly fog. When he spoke again, his voice leveled, his words slowed. "Actually, my partners and I own the building. There are 8 units, 3rd and 4th floors." His gaze tracked up. No hat for him either, Eve mused, but a wool topcoat in city black and a black and red striped scarf. "I own the lower unit outright," he continued. "We're rehabbing so we can move our business here, 1st and 2nd floors." "Which is what?" "Your business." "We're financial consultants. The Wynn Group. Whitestone, Ingersoll, and Newton. WIN. Got it. I'll live in the downside where it's warm, but I couldn't wait inside knowing she was out here in the cold. The police came so fast. Mr. Whitestone, I'm going to want a list of your partners and of the people working on the building." "Of course. If you'd give that and your contact information to my partner, you can go home. We'll be in touch." "We can go?" Alva asked her. "For now. I'd like your permission to go inside the unit, the building." "Sure. Anything you need. I have keys and codes," he began. "I've got a master. If there's any trouble, I'll let you know." "Lieutenant," Alva called her again as Eve turned to go. "When I met you before, I thought what you did was glamorous, in a way, like the iCove case and how it's going to be a major vid. It seemed exciting. But it's not." Alva's gaze swept back toward the stairs. "It's hard and it's sad." "It's the job," Eve said simply, and walked back toward the steps. "We'll wait to canvass until morning," she told Officer Turney. "Nobody's going to tell us much if we wake them up at this hour. The building's vacant, not just the unit. See that the wits get where they need to go." "What's your house, Turney?" "We're out at the 136. "And your CO?" "Sergeant Gonzalez, sir." "If you want in on the canvas, I'll clear it with your CO. Be here at 0730. "Yes, sir!" She all but snapped a salute. Mildly amused, Eve walked down the stairs, cleared the locks and codes, and entered the lower unit. "Lights on full," she ordered, pleased when they flashed on. The living area, she is ill, money well spent, and deep enough pockets to be able to spend it on really good work and attention to detail. And, unwinding a couple feet of her mile of scarf, Peabody stepped over to Eve's marker. "What might be blood on this tarp?" The tarp was bunched up, like a rug when you take a skid on it. All the others are laid out fairly smoothly. "Accidents happen in construction. Blood gets spilled. But, blood on a tarp and a body outside the door. Her lips split, and there's dried blood on it. Not a lot of blood, so somebody might not even notice any dripped on the tarp, especially when the tarp bunched up." "They brought her in here?" Forehead furrowed, Peabody looked back at the door. "I didn't see any signs of forced entry, but I'll check again." "They didn't force it. Maybe picked it, but that takes time. More likely they had the code or a damn good reader. Putting all that into the mix, it's not a simple mugging gone bad. No. He's not smart, the killer. If he's strong enough to break her neck, why smack her? She's got a bruise on the right cheek and that split lip. Punched her. Left jab. I don't think a punch. That's really stupid. Backhand. A guy only slaps a woman if he wants to humiliate her. He punches if he's pissed, drunk, or doesn't give a shit about blood and damage. He backhands when he wants to hurt and intimidate. Plus it looked like a backhand. Knuckles on bone. She'd been hit in the face enough to recognize the signs. Smart and controlled enough not to punch, not to beat on her, Eve said. But not smart enough to leave the area clean. Not transported to Central because this computerized tin god refuses access to police officers. All over that, Lieutenant. Please submit your badges for scan and place your palm on the palm plate for verification. Eve held up her badge with one hand, slapped her other on the palm plate. Clear the locks, now! Identification is verified. Access granted. Eve shoved through the door, strode across the black marble lobby floor to the glossy white elevator doors, flanked by two man-sized urns exploding with red spiky flowers. Please wait here until Mr. and/or Mrs. Dickinson is notified of your arrival. Can it, compu jerk? She walked straight into the elevator, Peabody scurrying after her. Penthouse B, she ordered. Give me any shit, I swear to God I'll stun your motherboard. As the elevator began its smooth climb, Peabody let out a sigh of pleasure. That was fun. I hate getting dicked around by electronics. Well, actually, you're getting dicked around by the programmer. You're right. Eve's eyes narrowed. You're fucking right. Make a note to do a search and scan. I want to find out who programmed that officious bastard. That could be even more fun. Peabody's cheerful smile faded when the elevator stopped. This won't be. They walked to Penthouse B. More security, Eve noted, and damn good at that. Palm plate, peep, camera. She pressed the buzzer to alert the system. Hi! A kid, Eve thought, momentarily confused. We're the down. Mr. Dickinson, we need to talk. Don't say it! Don't! He lifted his head, looked desperately into Eve's eyes. Please don't say it! I'm sorry. He wept, wrapping his arms around the dog, swaying and rocking on his knees. He wept. It had to be said. Even when it was known it had to be said, for the record, and Eve knew, for the man. Mr. Dickinson, I regret to inform you your wife was killed. We're very sorry for your loss. Marta, Marta, Marta. He said it like a chant, like a prayer. Can we call someone for you? Peabody asked gently. Your sister? A neighbor? How? How? Let's go sit down, Eve told him, and offered her hand. He stared at it, then put his, trembling, into it. He was a tall man, well-built. It took both of them to pull him to his feet where he swayed like a drunk. I can't... What? We're going to go sit down. As she spoke, Peabody guided him into a spacious living area full of color, of comfort, and the clutter of family with kids and a monster dog. I'm going to get you some water, all right? Peabody continued.
Do you want me to contact your sister?
Jenny? Yes. Jenny.
All right. Sit right here.
He eased down, and the dog immediately planted its massive paws on his legs, laid its enormous head in his lap. As Peabody went off to find the kitchen, Dickinson turned to Eve. Tears continued. We wouldn't take stupid chances. We have children. The hand holding the water began to shake again. The children. What am I going to tell our kids? How can I tell our kids? Are your children home? Eve asked him. Yes, of course. They're sleeping. They'll expect her to be here when they get up for school. She's always here when they get up for school. Mr. Dickinson, I have to ask, were there any problems in your marriage? No. I'm a lawyer. My sister's a criminal court judge. I know you have to look at me, so look, he said with his eyes welling again. Look, get it done, but tell me what happened to my wife. You tell me what happened to Marta. Fast, Eve knew. Fast and brief. Her body was found shortly after 2 this morning at the base of an exterior stairway of a building approximately 8 blocks from her office. Her neck was broken. His breath came out, tore, sucked back again. She wouldn't have walked that far. Not at night, not alone. And she didn't fall, or you wouldn't be here. Was she raped? There was no indication of sexual assault from the initial examination. Mr. Dickinson, did you attempt to contact your wife between your last call and our arrival here? I've been calling her Link every few minutes. I started around 10:30, I think, but she didn't answer. She'd never have let me worry like this, all this time. I knew. I need a minute. He got shakily to his feet. I need a minute, he repeated, and rushed out of the room. The dog looked after him, then walked cautiously to Peabody, lifted. When they stepped outside into the murky dawn, Peabody pressed her fingers to her eyes as Judge Jung had done.
That was pretty much as bad as it gets.
It'll get worse when the kids wake up. Eve handed Peabody the evidence bag, holding the link Denzel had given them. I'm going to drop you off at Central. Contact McNabb and tell him to get his skinny ass in. I want him to process that link. As she spoke, she pulled open the car door, got behind the wheel. I requested Harpo, self-proclaimed queen of hair and fiber, to process the fibers on the Vic's pants. I'll follow up on that. Jung's arranging for a search warrant, residence, vehicles, offices. Get Detectives Carmichael and Santiago on that as soon as it comes through, but they're to make sure the family's not there. They're going to the judge's place. She pulled out, made the turn for downtown. I want Uniform Carmichael to pick a team for a canvass. He'll meet Officer Turney at the scene at 0730, so get on that. Contact Sergeant Gonzalez at the 136. Tell him I requested Turney for the duty.
You want the first on scene?
I want Turney. She's got good instincts. There's a little Peabody in there.
Yeah?
Peabody puffed up, then immediately pouted.
Is she?
Don't even think about asking if she's got a smaller ass, prettier face, tougher chops, or whatever you're thinking. Just get it done.
I wasn't thinking about her ass,
Peabody muttered.
But now I am.
I want EDD on the electronics, and as soon as we get the insurance information, I want a sweep on the items she was wearing. Wedding ring, wrist unit. The coat. We'll talk to the husband later, see if he remembers the earrings and the scarf Jung claims she'd have worn. He couldn't take any more on this first pass. Start a run on the workplaces. Look for anything that links them and links either or both to Whitestone's company. There's gotta be something there. If this was a random kill, I'm a monkey's cousin.
Uncle.
What?
It's a monkey's uncle, and before you ask, no, I don't know why, because really, on the evolutionary train, cousin's about right.
What the hell do I care?
I'm just saying.
Eve spared Peabody a glance as she turned to cut across town. The blocks went smooth and fast. Too early for pedestrians to swarm the sidewalks and crosswalks. Too late for the rapid cabs packed with club hoppers and party-goers. She avoided Times Square, where the hoppers and goers never gave in or up, then zipped by a maxi bus filled with sleepy commuters either coming on or going off shift. Somebody grabbed her, and had to make the grab close to her office. Or they waited in a cab, then just cruised up for the grab. They took her to that empty apartment because they knew it was empty. Either they had the codes or they're damn good at B&E. Knocked her around a little.
You think a righty and a backhand.
Yeah, it reads that way to me. A backhand across the cheekbone's gonna hurt a lot, knock her down, scared the living shit out of her. Too much bruising for just a slap. Not enough for a solid punch. She brought the victim's face back into her head. Probably more than one hit. We'll see if Morris tells us she was stunned or tranked, but I'm betting no. They wanted to make it look like a mugging. If they'd saw chocolate brown under his protective cape, a perfectly cut suit with a cream-colored shirt. He'd braided his hair, left it in one long, complicated black tail down his back. I was gonna pull you in if you weren't on her. I took the night shift this week. Restless. But he glanced up again. Any particular reason you'd want me on her? She's Judge Young's sister-in-law. Jenny? Eve's eyebrows winged up. You're on a first-name basis with Young? We share an appreciation for the same types of music. This is her brother's wife? Denzel's wife? I met them once, when Jenny had a musical evening at her home. I didn't recognize her, but Jenny always spoke so warmly of her. The judge is clearing the road, seeing that we have full access and in a speedy fashion. You don't suspect the husband? No, but you've got to look. COD's the broken neck? Yes. Someone very strong and very skilled. It wasn't from a fall. The report said she was found at the bottom of a stairway. A short one, and no, not a fall. She didn't fall. They put her there when they were done, tried to make it look like a mugging. It wasn't. She has some minor injuries. Facial bruise, the injured lip, both from a blow, a hand, not a fist. Slight bruising around her mouth, bruising on her right wrist, slight bruising on both knees and her left elbow, the abrasion on the heel of her right hand. Knees and hand. Like she skidded on some kind of rug or carpet? Eve held up her hand, shoved the heel of it forward. That would be my conclusion. Have the tits to fill it out! The dead woman just bought the thing, the tiger print, which my boy knew that afternoon, so the ex couldn't have seen her in it unless she was in that bedroom. The boy took her apart from there. Got a full confession. How she'd climbed up the fire escape. The dead ex always left the bedroom window open a little, fresh air fiend. Bashed him first, then went to town on the new skirt. Went back, wailed some more on the ex. Then went down to the basement laundry room. He hadn't changed his codes on that. Washed her damn clothes, cleaned up, walked out, tossed the tire iron in the river. That's good work. Does the lab have the clothes? Yeah. I'm leaving it to the boy to follow up there. We both figured her for involvement, but he's the one who saw her with the tire iron, swinging for the fences. He paused a moment, and knowing there was more, Eve waited. He's lost his green, Dallas. Well, he's one of those who'll probably always be fresh, but you know what I mean. He's earned a shot at detective. She'd promised to consider it. And though Baxter's second pass was a little ahead of schedule, she couldn't fault his logic. The first of the year. If he wants it, he can take the exam then. That'll give him time to get a little more experience under his belt and study up. Let him know. You've done good with him, Baxter. He's gold, boss. I figured him mostly for ballast when you tossed him my way. But he's gold. Appreciate it. Prime him, she warned. The exam's not for pussies. He's a sweetheart, but he ain't no pussy. When they walked into the bullpen, things were already hopping. She gave Peabody the come-ahead and kept moving into her office, where Eve headed, but not flashy. Some art and jewelry. Dickinson and Grimes started their firm 11 years ago, took on the other partners along the way. They have a good rep. The Vic worked for Brewer and Company for about the same amount of time, moving up, time off for each of the kids with standard maternity leave. The nanny's been with them since the first kid came along. I have her data. Okay, we'll talk to her, to the Vic's work people, to the law partners. Crossing, there are some clients popping on each, and I've got a couple so far who've used or are using the Wits firm. Run it through, then we'll work the matches. She glanced down when her unit signaled an incoming. There's the warrant. She ordered it to print, read the attachment. Jung says the family's heading over to her place. Give Carmichael the warrant and get them going. Give EDD the nod on the electronics. Be ready to— Sir. She straightened her shoulders when Commander Whitney filled her doorway. She'd expected contact, and quickly, but wished he'd called her up to his office, given her time to prepare. I've been informed Judge Jung's sister-in-law has been murdered. Yes, sir. I've just come in from the field. I haven't written up my initial report, and am waiting for some lab results. Run it through for me. Peabody, get things started. Commander, she began, then gave him an oral report. He was a big man in her small office, his dark face grim as he listened, as he walked over to stare out of her skinny window at the gloomy morning. You're not leaning toward the husband. I'm leaning away from the husband, Eve told him, but we'll take him through the process. Both he and the judge have been cooperative. We need to speak with Sylvester Gibbons. Of course, yes. She pulled some tissues out of a holder. Marcus? I'll get him, right away. The man dashed off. Would you like to sit down? Or coffee? Would you like some coffee? We're good. How well did you know Miss Dickinson? Very well. I think very well. She dabbed at her eyes. We took an exercise class together twice a week, and we talked every day. Every work day. I can't believe this happened. She's careful, and it's a good area. She wouldn't have fought or argued with a mugger. Tears welled and overflowed again. They didn't have to hurt her. Has anyone been in asking about her? No. Have there been any problems between her and someone in the office? Someone in the firm? No. I'd know. You hear everything on the desk. This is a good company. We get along. Nobody got along all the time, but Eve let it slide.
How about a client? Any trouble? Complaints?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
People don't like being audited. Has anyone caused any trouble about that? About the work she did?
Legal handles that sort of thing.
I don't understand. She was mugged, so—
It's routine, Eve said. We need to be thorough.
Of course, I'm sorry. I'm so upset.
She choked on the words as she dug out fresh tissues.
We got to be pretty good friends with the class we took.
Did she talk about her work with you? About the audits?
Marta wouldn't gossip about an audit. It's unprofessional. And if she'd gossiped, it probably would have been with me. You get, well, loose when you're sweating together. And sometimes we'd go have a drink after. A reward. We talked about our kids and clothes and that sort of thing. Men, husbands. She smiled weakly. Neither of us wanted to talk about work when we were out of the office.
Okay.
Oh, Sly!
She said the syllable on a smothered wail, then dropped down in her chair, covered her face with her hands.
Nat!
A stringy man with flyaway blonde hair and watery blue eyes stepped around the reception desk, patted the woman on the shoulder.
Why don't you go home?
I want to stay, to help.
We couldn't reach everyone who has an appointment. I just need a few minutes.
She rose, dashed off. It's gonna take longer than minutes. He passed a weary hand over his face, turned to Eve and Peabody. Lieutenant Dallas? Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
We're not ourselves this morning. Marta— He shook his head. We should go back to my office. His movements ungainly, as if he couldn't quite deal with the length of his limbs, he led the way through a cubicle area. More tears, more watery eyes, and down a short hall where office doors stayed closed. Marta's office. He stopped, stared at the closed door. Do you need to see? We will, yes. I'd like to talk to you first. Is the door secured? She would have locked it when she left. That's policy. I unlocked it when I came in, after I heard, just to see if they— I'm sorry. That's not why you're here. When did you ask Marta to work late? Just yesterday. Yesterday morning, when I talked to Jim, the one with the broken leg. They won't be able to travel back. They're in Vegas at a convention. I told you that. Sorry. They won't be able to come back to work for several days at least, and we had audits pending. I asked Marta to pick up the slack. I worked until 8 myself, but then I took the rest home. Marta was still here. She said, "Thanks for dinner, Sly." I ordered us some food about 6. For myself, Marta, and Lorraine. Lorraine? Lorraine Wilkie. She and Marta both worked late. Lorraine and I left at the same time, but I'd given Marta the bulk of the work. She's the best we have. She's the best. I didn't know she'd stay so late. I should have told her to leave when I did. I should have gotten her into a cab. If I had, she'd be all right. What was she working on? Several things. He took out his pocket link when it signaled, glanced at the readout, hit ignore. I'm sorry, that can wait. Marta was finishing up an audit of her own, had just begun another, and I gave her 3 more, one assigned to Jim and the others to Chaz, and I asked her to look over some work done by a trainee. Would Marta have told anyone about these assignments? Details, I mean. Names? No, that information would be very confidential.
We're going to need to see her work. I'll need you to give me access to her files. I don't understand. He lifted his hands, palm up, like a man offering a plea. Want Sly upset, and she said she'd take care of it. Take care of what? Eve demanded. It was just... Ms. Mobsley. Marta was doing the audit on her trust fund because the trustees ordered it. Marta was just doing her job, but Ms. Mobsley was really upset, really mad about it. How it's her money, and she wasn't having any dried-up numbers crunchers giving the assholes, that's her word, okay, any lever to cut her off. She said Marta was going to be sorry if she didn't do what she wanted. What did she want? I guess, she wanted Marta to, tweak some numbers so everything looked fine. But the thing is, I'm not supposed to talk about accounts and people. You're relaying information to the police about a possible threat, Eve reminded her. It's just I helped run some of the numbers, research some of the data, and, well, Ms. Mobsley was sort of cheating. She was taking funds she wasn't supposed to and covering it, sort of, so it looked like approved expenses. And the trustees are the client, so Marta had to give them a clean report. Marta told her if she kept harassing her, she'd have to report the communications to the trustees and the court, and Ms. Mobsley got mega steamed. Marta had me come in and close the door, and she told me. I heard some of it anyway, but she said since I was assisting on the audit, I needed to know. And I needed to tell her ASAP if Ms. Mobsley or anyone else contacted me about the audit or tried to pressure me about it. Has anyone? No. People like Ms. Mobsley don't notice assistants, I don't think. I was supposed to tell her, Ms. Mobsley, if she contacted the office again, that Marta was unavailable, but to log the call and everything she said. She broke off, pressed her thin lips together briefly. I'm speaking of employment termination. Sylvester will assign one of us to an audit or client, such as the accident requiring you and Marta to take on other work. Exactly. This firm has a reputation, earned and deserved, for accuracy, discretion, and efficiency, and our department's part of the reason for that reputation. Clearly, Chaz and Jim will be unable to work for several days, if not weeks. The work can't wait. Due to the sensitive nature of the work, have you ever been threatened or harassed? For the most part, we're dealing with corporations and large businesses. Their lawyers may jostle with ours, but most usually they're too busy jostling with the courts who approved or ordered the audit. There have been times over the years when an individual learns who is doing the actual figures, and there are, on rare occasions, angry calls, rarer still, a personal confrontation here at the office. In those cases, one has to assume there's a reason for the anger and fear. She lifted bony shoulders. For the most part, we work in peace and quiet, and in a very pleasant atmosphere. How about bribes? Now Lorraine smiled. Oh, it's not unheard of for someone mired in an audit to offer the auditor or one of the other staff a bribe to cover up what the audit would expose. Taking one means the risk of prison or a very stiff fine, the loss of a hard-earned license, termination from the firm. Bribe sweet enough. It could be worth it to some. Maybe so, but it's foolish and short-sighted. Numbers don't lie, Lieutenant. Sooner or later, they'll add up correctly, and that quick, easy money will have proven a very find a way. And she had one lead out of it. We'll track down this Candida Mobsley, but I want to go by the crime scene first, and I want to follow up with the two wits and a talk with Whitestone's partners. Start that search for the snatch vehicle. She pulled away from the curb.
By the time she'd maneuvered the handful of blocks, Peabody was asleep with her PPC in her hand. Eve jabbed her with an elbow.
"Yes, sir. What?"
"There's a deli up the block there. Go fuel up. Get me whatever."
"Yeah, okay. Sorry. We hung with Mavis and her gang until about midnight. It's catching up with me."
"Take a booster if you need it." Peabody scrubbed her hands over her face and, yawning, crawled out of the car. Eve skirted around the hood, walked in the opposite direction through the insistent sleet to stand in front of the building where Marta Dickinson died. It looked good, she decided, even in the crappy weather. Dignified, old school, and very, very fresh. She imagined the owners would have little problem filling those spaces, if they ignored the small detail of murder. Standing in the sleet, she closed her eyes. Park the van or the four-wheel, because a Mini struck her as absurd for abduction, near the front of the office building. She has to come out sooner or later. Waiting's just part of the job. Security cams don't scope all the way to the sidewalk. Let her come out. Get out of the vehicle, she imagined. Let her walk by. Step in behind her, stun her, muffle her, muscle her in the back in seconds. One in the driver's seat, one in the back with her. Hold a hand over her mouth, hold her down when she struck her on the second pass if she wants it. Let her see, Eve thought. Homicide, like most cop work, was walking, waiting, asking questions, and paperwork. She walked down the stairs, broke the seal, entered the apartment. Nothing to see, really. Same as it had been, but for the fine layer of dust left by the sweepers, and that on-the-edge-of-nasty chemical smell that clung to the air. They didn't take her farther than the front living space. No need to drag it out. Privacy-screened windows, light showed through, but not movement, not activity. Good soundproofing. A dozen people might have walked by on the sidewalk, they'd never have heard her scream. They took her briefcase. That was more than show, more than cover. That was part of the job. Take her work, her files, her memo book, her tablet, whatever she'd carried. The woman had 2 kids at home. She wouldn't have played the hero. And for what? Numbers? Someone else's money? She'd have told them whatever they wanted to know, if she knew it. She didn't fight back. Did she believe they'd let her go if she told them, gave them, cooperated? Makes the most sense, Eve murmured as she circled the room. Tell us, give us what we want, and it doesn't have to get ugly. She'd believe them because the alternative was too terrifying. Peabody came in and brought the scent of something wonderful with her.
Chicken noodle soup and twisty herb bread. They make it on site, right there. I got us both a large Go Cup. Did Carmichael find you?
Yeah. Possible wit on a van parked out front, but no description of said van. Wynn Group. She pointed, took a left jog, found the nameplate on a set of double doors.
Over 800 registered, Peabody reported. New York alone.
We'll do a standard search and match with the names we have. If nothing pops, we widen it out. She pushed through the doors. Inside the small reception area, they'd gone for energy. Lots of reds, bright whites, chrome. The smoldering brunette behind the counter offered a slow, liquid smile. May I help you? Lieutenant Dallas, Detective Peabody. She set her badge on the counter. Oh, this is about that poor woman Brad found last night. Did you find out who mugged her? We need to see Mr. Whitestone, Eve said.
Of course. Sorry. He's really shaken up about it. She tapped her earpiece. Brad? The police are here. Yes, Lieutenant Dallas. I will. She tapped again. I'll take you back to his office. Would you like anything? She might never want anything again after the soup. We're fine. Are Mr. Whitestone's partners available? Jake's at a business lunch and should be back by 2. He has a 2:30. Robb's in with a client. I can let his assistant know you're here if you need to speak with him. Do that. Before she could open the door, Whitestone stepped out. Like Lorraine's, his shirt was crisp and white, his suit perfectly tailored, but shadows dogged his eyes. Thanks, Marie. Lieutenant, detective, I hope you're here to tell me you found the mugger. He stepped back to let them into a small, slick office. A good window, she noted, a counter for an AC and a mini-friggy. Contemporary mirror. He gave his partner a thumbs up. 6, so round up a date. And I apologize, he said quickly. You're not here to talk about Hollywood and red carpets. What can we do to help? You had access to the apartment. Yes, we all have access to every area in the building. Can you tell me where you were last night between 9 p.m. and midnight? I can. He reached in his pocket, took out a date book, keyed into it, then set it on the table in front of Eve. Dinner with my fiancée and her parents at Tavern on the Green. They like their traditions. 8 o'clock reservations, and we left a little after 10. Lissa and I caught a cab, then met up with some friends at Reno's bar, that's downtown. We didn't stay all that long, maybe an hour. Then we cabbed back to our place. We got home about midnight. Are we suspects? It's routine, Eve said automatically. The victim was taken inside the apartment. You have access. It's helpful to know where you were. I'll need the names of the people you were with, just for the files. I'll have my assistant get you a list of names and contacts. But we didn't even know the victim. Did we? He asked Whitestone. I didn't, but she worked for one of your client's accounting firm, Blacksford. She was with Brewer, Kyle, and Martini? I have 3 clients with them. He took his book back, slid it into his pocket. But I don't remember having any contact with her. I work with Jim Arnold. Eve took out Marta's ID photo. Do you recall having seen her? Having met her? I don't. I'm sorry. I've had lunch with Jim several times, and with Sly, Sylvester Gibbons, but I never did business with this woman. It would help if you got me the names of any clients. I have to believe you'd lie about more important things, like whether or not you arranged Marta Dickinson's murder. In a bad-tempered move, Candida slapped her white cup down on the white table. I did not either. You threatened her. You harassed her. You made angry, threatening calls to her, and she responded by informing you to cease and desist, or she would inform the trustees and the court. Now she's dead. So what? Candida demanded again. I can say what I want. There's no law against it. You'd be wrong about that. It's like freedom of speech. It's like the Fifth Amendment or whatever. Look it up. I'll be sure to do that, Eve murmured. Since we're talking about rights, let me read you yours, just so everybody understands. Candida went back into sulk mode as Eve recited the revised Miranda. Like I haven't heard all that before. Well, it bears repeating. So you understand your rights and obligations? Yeah, BFD. Why don't you tell us what you said to Ms. Dickinson when you were exercising your interpretation of your constitutional rights? What? What's your version of your conversation with Marta Dickinson? Jesus, why didn't you just say that? All I did was ask her to ease off. It's my money. And it's just stupid I have to go begging to those tight asses every time I want more. And I was nice to her. I sent her flowers, didn't I? I said how I'd give her 10,000 under the table if she'd just clear it. 10,000's a nice chunk for some bookkeeper bitch. You suggested Ms. Dickinson doctor the audit in your favor, and in return you'd give her $10,000? Yeah, I was nice. And she got pissy about it. So I said, fine, make it 20. And she's all, I'll have to report you if you keep this shit up. Like that. Cicely Morgan, my rock. It's good to meet you. She spoke in an accent Eve thought of as classy Brit. Can I pour you a glass of wine? On duty, but thanks. Coffee? Tea? I'm good. I'll leave you to talk. Sissy, sit down and have a glass of wine with me, since Lieutenant Dallas can't. Is it all right? Alva asked Eve. I've already told Sissy the whole story. It's fine, Eve said. I'm just here to follow up. Maybe you can tell me a little more about your relationship with Bradley Whitestone. We met at a fundraiser a few weeks ago. He's courting me. She smiled as she poured wine in 2 glasses. My portfolio, anyway. I don't mind. He has good, fresh ideas, an appealing approach. So it's not a personal relationship. Not yet determined. I like him, but I'm careful. I wasn't always, was I? She patted Sissy's hand, got a quiet smile. You were young. Perhaps a bit headstrong. A bit? Alva tossed back her head on a laugh. Sissy's discreet. I went through a wild stage, not that long ago in the scheme of things. Clubs, more clubs, parties, men, even a couple of women just to say I had, throwing money away because it was there. Then I was wild with the wrong man. He hurt me. I'm sorry. To keep the story short, he beat me unconscious, raped me, then beat me again. He stole from me, tossed me out of my own apartment, naked. If one of the neighbors hadn't heard me, gotten me inside, called the police, I don't know what might have happened. See it. So the idea evolved, Eve prompted. Yes, exactly. And I did want to see it, to see what he and his partners had done. He was excited to show me, pleased I wanted to see it. And I think, possibly, we might have shifted that relationship into the personal. But after, we were both so shocked. He took me home, came in a while. Neither of us wanted to be alone. He caught a couple hours' sleep in the guest room. What about his partners? What do you know about them? I've met them. The bod, laughing, Alva fanned her hand in front of her face. We had dinner with him, Robb and his fiancée, and Jake and a date. No business. Part of the courtship, I'd say, but very pleasant. I've also had my father do some research on them, professionally and personally. I don't take chances anymore. He likes what he sees. It's unlikely he'd shift his allegiances, but he's fine with them if I decide to. All right. That should do it. Have you been working since I saw you this morning? That's the job. I can't imagine it. Sissy and I read the Audiobook. We're going to the premiere. Alva, you take a date. I am. Alva slid her arm through Sissy's. My choice. We really enjoyed the book. It was fascinating, Sissy said. I feel sorry for those women, the young girls, the children. So do I. Eve got to her feet. I appreciate the time and the candor. From where I'm standing, you're doing a good job with that second chance. She put her vehicle on auto,
partly because she was boxed in. He'd had a long, rough day of his own, wanted his wife and a large glass of wine, more or less in that order. The same tableau greeted him. "The lieutenant's upstairs," Somerset began, as Galahad, semi-arched now, crept over to sniff at Rourke's trousers. "Good." She looked exhausted. "Small wonder." "What's this?" He bent to scratch at the cat, who continued to sniff. "Apparently he's mistrustful you've been loyal, as he smelled another cat on the lieutenant." "Ah, well, I haven't had time for cats today." As Rourke stripped off his topcoat, Somerset held out a hand for it. "Thanks." "Let's go up, then," he said to the cat. "I'm sure she'll make it up to you." He started up, the cat strolling behind him. If she'd gone to her office, he'd pour some wine into both of them, Rourke determined, and talk her into a short lie-down. He could use one himself, but he wanted out of the bloody suit first. And he found her, still face down across the bed. "That works." He took off the suit, changed into loose pants and a long-sleeved t-shirt. Wine could wait, he decided, and slid onto the bed beside Eve. She stirred a little when he wrapped an arm around her, muttered something that sounded like numbers, then settled again. The cat took a running leap, bounced on the bed beside Rourke's hip. With his wife curled to his front, the cat to his back, Rourke, in turn, tuned out. Dreams took her through the day, in their own strange way, into white landscapes, of people you don't want to talk to. Amused, he linked his fingers with hers. And who would talk to them? You could do it all by text or email, and never have to speak to a living soul. I can only dream of days like that. Ah, but if I paid people to talk to the people, which I actually do when necessary, and then paid more people to talk to the people I paid, there's no doubt some things would be lost in translation, and I'd end up having to talk to even more people after it all got bollocksed up. Maybe, but you like people more than I do. That's probably true, until you factor in you risk your life for people every day. Not today, especially. Then we should celebrate. God, I want a bloody glass of wine. She lifted his head with her hands, took a long look. You had a bad day. No, a bumpy one. A long one, but in the end not bad at all. Especially the homecoming portion. Well, that part goes without saying. It should always be said. He nudged up to kiss her. Then I'll say it too. And I want a shower, maybe some wine, and since I paid you in advance, I want you to look at the VIX file. A deal's a deal. Shower, wine, food, and my end of the bargain. I had food before. Before what? She laughed, rolled out of bed with him. I had a fake Danish this morning, and magic chicken soup this afternoon. More cause to celebrate. They walked into the shower, with Rourke already resigned to having his skin boiled off. It was really good soup, from a deli near the crime scene. She ordered jets on full, 102 degrees. He winced. I showered. It's over. He's annoyed, Somerset tells me, as you were around another cat. It wasn't a cat. It was a goddamn panther. You were at the zoo? The rich idiot has a white panther cub to go with their white penthouse, which made me snowblind. Everything's white, except her assistant wore black. I figure so she can find him in that snowstorm she lives in. And I need to check and make sure she's got the proper license for that panther.
What kind of idiot keeps a jungle cat as a pet? She would, if someone told her it was fashionable or rebellious. Eve narrowed her eyes. Did you do that, moron? Rourke shook his head. That's a very crass term, considering our personal welcome home. No, I didn't do, bang, nail, or bounce on that particular moron. Because moron would or certainly should be self-explanatory. Add she's not in any way my type. Booze, illegals, stupidity, reckless behavior, and spoiled right down to the marrow. Good to know. How about Alva Mooney? While not a moron, no, I've not done, banged, etc., Alva Mooney. Is she involved as more than a witness? No. No, not that I can see or feel. I liked her. She said I had met her before. It's likely we exchanged greetings at some fundraiser or event. Any other women on the list I may have potentially banged? She grinned at him. Not really. I wondered about those two since you're all filthy rich. You've some grime on you, Lieutenant. That's just transferred grime. She held out a hand. You're going to come in handy on, would likely report it, or at least tell the cops on canvas. And if he was spooked, and had a stunner, Rourke picked up her train of thought, quicker, easier to jam it against her throat and kill her that way. That's why the stunner doesn't make a lot of sense, but the marks are on her. And one more plus. She had no business being that far from the office, that far from home. It was too cold and too late for her to walk it, and she told her husband she was just walking to the subway, a block and a half from the office. All that, yes, and the blood on the tarp. That's the big one, as it proves she was inside the apartment. To get her inside, they needed the code. Ah, well, he only smiled, wiggled his fingers. If they could afford, or had a B&E man good enough to get through that security without a trace, they could afford a pro hit. There wasn't much time to recruit. She pointed a finger at him. Exactly. Pleased he followed the same line, she lifted her wine to drink. She gets past the accounts, the audits, just that afternoon. That's the most likely motive. Maybe, it was one of the other older deals, and she just reached some stage on it that sent up the red flag. But the probability's higher if it was new, because it reads like a rush job. New to her. This time she toasted him. Exactly. Word gets back to the client, or the auditee, is that a word? Or the person involved with the business who doesn't want somebody fresh coming in, can't afford it. She's only had a few hours. Hell, maybe she didn't even scratch the surface. But you can't take the chance. Things are a little confused, a little bogged down at Brewer and Company with the two accountants in a Vegas hospital. It's a smallish department. Everybody knows everybody. You can bet anybody who needed to know could find out who's working on what. Nobody's going to think a thing about a question like, say, who got slammed with Jim's or Chaz's work? Or the supervisor told the interested party who'd be handling the audit when they contacted him to express concern. Not to worry, Mr. Very Bad Man, Rourke began. Marta's one of the best. She does excellent work, and in fact, we'll be burning the midnight oil right here tonight to catch up. As simple as that, Eve agreed. Then Mr. Very Bad Man calls in a couple of goons, tells them to find out what Marta knows, get the files, and get rid of her. Which they do, but Lieutenant Very Smart Woman detects the subtle mistakes in their work. They shouldn't have taken the coat. She cut a bite of steak before gesturing with her knife. It's a little thing, but it was overkill. Or if they took the coat, they should have taken the boots. They were good boots, pretty new. Probably worth more than the coat. And if they wanted it to look like a mugging, they should have used a sticker. Messy, sure, but putting a couple of holes in her would read more like a mugging. Using that apartment was convenient, but not smart. It gave us the connection. Wynne to Brewer to the Vic's new audits. I know at least 8 clients at this point who cross, and 3 who had audits assigned to Marta on the day of her murder. We may find more yet. She plucked up a fry, frowned at it. Too fucking convenient. Why not one of the construction crew? One of them could have finessed the codes. Not impossible, and I need to dig into Peabody's report more thoroughly. So far, nobody's popping. And it seems to me one of the crew would be more likely to spread that tarp back out. They'd know how the place looks every morning. Pries had her energy back in tune. A nap, sex, and a hot shower may have played into that. Either way, she calculated she had a few good hours in her. She noted that Rourke dived right in, and that the cat watched her suspiciously when she came out of the kitchen to set up her board. She decided her best tactic there was ignoring Galahad until he pretended nothing was wrong and never had been. She studied the board as she worked, and went to her auxiliary unit to print out more ID photos. She pinned Candida and Aston to her board, and Alva Mooney's housekeeper. Connections, she thought, and began to make them. Candida to Alva, former friends, lovers, both rolling it in. Candida to the Vic through the audit. She added Candida's money man and a note to do a run on him. She aligned the Vic's family on one side, her co-workers on the other, and took a good look at James Arnold and Chaz Parzari, making another note to contact the hospital and get the rundown on injuries and prognoses. Rourke, she saw, was in work mode. With his hair tied back, sleeves pushed up, he looked relaxed about it. Who knew why some people found numbers so damn fascinating? She sat at her auxiliary unit and dived into what she considered the much more interesting prospect of digging into people's lives. Arnold, James, age 46. On his second marriage, 9 years in. The first gave him 2 children, one of each variety, and hefty child support payments. He'd added another kid, female, with the second marriage. He looked like an accountant, she decided. At least the cliched image of one. Pale, a slightly worried expression. Optimistic cheating, he decided, and usually flawed. Okay. I've one audit here due to a potential merger, another due to bylaws, another by court order. It appears your victim had done the same as I'm doing here. She got a feel for them first. She has some questions noted on all 3 of these. Nothing major, but she hadn't worked on them very long. Is your opinion she didn't, at least at the time of her death, know anything particularly damaging? I can't say absolutely, but I think that's probably accurate. Okay. I've got a handful of suspects. Let me run one by you. This guy owns his own company. A generational deal. About a dozen years ago, things got very, very thin. He held out, but barely. Had to take out loans, sell off some assets. He took a lot of smaller jobs and sometimes lost money on them. Keeping his hand in. Employees? Yeah. They'd built up to about 50, and in the thin went down to about 20. I'm no business expert, but it looks like he'd have been smarter cutting that by half. He wouldn't have had payroll eating up the profit, so he lost money on some of those jobs. He kept as many of his people as he could working. It may not be sound business in the short term, but it is in the long. You know who's working for you. They know they can count on you. All right, I can get that.
He's got 32 employees now, and some of them are from before the thin, ones he had to let go. Loyalty? He'd done well for them while he could, brought them back in when work picked up. Maybe. Is the company private or public? Are there stockholders? He asked. No, it's his deal. His family's deal. The Vic's firm. Tightening the circle if I can until you dig out whatever needs to be dug out. I'm going to give a copy to one of the department's forensic accountants, too. Are you telling me that to stir my competitive juices? No, I need to do it. And okay, that's a factor, but I need to do it. And run some of this by Mira, once I talk to a few more people. Your day's starting to look like mine. Don't say that. I'll be forced to hide under the bed until tomorrow. Darling Eve, the motives and the methods may vary, but our days aren't so very different. Now, since you're going to interview some of the top businessmen in the city, what are you wearing? Some sort of clothing. That's a start. He rose, walked into her closet. Subtle power, I think. Authority, but not threatening. I like being threatening. As well I know, but you'll want to draw out rather than beat out information, and what you wear will send a message. I can swim in the same pool as you, and mine's even bigger. She scowled over a last slice of bacon. It's your damn pool. Shut up before you annoy me, and I pick out something that makes you look weak and foolish. Amused, as he'd intended, she polished off her breakfast. Do I have something like that? It's all in the combination, the presentation, the geography, and the time of day. All that, she muttered, and figured this time he was being absolutely serious. By the way, your dress for the premiere's here. Have you bothered to look at it? I saw it, and automatically rolled her shoulders when they tensed. You know something might come up. Stop. He came out with a pair of dark gray trousers with silver murder. You do. The new files she was given the day of her death. Are you personally acquainted with the individuals in those files? No, but I intend to be by the end of today. I started this business 60 years ago with Jacob Kyle. 28 years ago, we brought Sonny on as a full partner. I intended to retire in about 6 months. I think now I'll need to put that off. I started this firm, and I won't leave it until I know I leave it clean. I feel sorry for him, Peabody said when they walked outside. For Brewer. I know he's a suspect, technically, but he looked so tired. Here's why he's not a suspect at this point. He has access to the information that was taken. He's top dog, and if he wanted the files, he could just take the files. If there was something hinky and he was involved, rather than assign an auditor, he could just say, hey, I need to get my hand in. I'll take those accounts. The same for the other two, Kyle and Martini. If you're smart enough to keep a business like this going for half a century or more, you're smart enough to cover your tracks without killing off an employee. Eve's hands slid into her pockets. Not as cold today, she thought, because the wind was down, but damn cold enough. And if you're not, she continued, or if killing the employees seemed more efficient, you sure as hell wouldn't break into your own offices and take files after the fact. Makes sense. I'm glad, because I did feel sorry for him. Right now, we'll focus on the businesses in the files the Vic sent to her home unit. She didn't give that away, even when they heard her. She swiveled in her chair, presenting her back to Eve, and murmured rapidly on her headset. When she swiveled back, she kept her eyebrows level, her face impassive. "Mr. Young Sachs will see you shortly. If you'll go up to the 45th floor, someone will meet you." "I'll do that." Eve walked over to the elevators, rolled her shoulders. That felt good.
Why do people like that get so pissed off about having the boss talk to a cop? Peabody wondered. I mean, really, it's not their ass in the sling.
I don't know, but I'm glad they do. Eve stepped into the elevator, ordered 45. It gives me a lift. Chapter 9. Floor 45 shifted the mood to calm and plush, with warm colors, thick rugs, leafy plants, and stylish waiting areas. A 6-foot blonde in towering heels and a short black suit greeted Eve with a pleasant professional smile. "Officer?" "Lieutenant Dallas, Detective Peabody." "Lieutenant, I'm Tuva Gunnarsson, Mr. Young Sachs's admin. May I ask what this is in reference to?" "Police business." "Yes, of course." The smooth voice and manner didn't ripple. "If you'll come with me." How the blonde managed to glide on the stilt seemed like magic, but glide she did, through the waiting area, through glass doors into a window-walled corridor, all the way to the wide double doors. She opened them both with the kind of flourish into her boss's big, swanky office. More glass, more plush in 2 conversation areas, a slick silver wet bar, 3 wall screens, and a command console in that same slick silver, backed by a high-backed leather chair in fresh blood red. "Mr. Young Sachs will be with you in a moment. Can I get you anything?" She opened a wall panel to reveal a kitchen area, complete with full bar and a gleam of ruby-colored glassware. "No, thanks." "How long have you worked here?" 6 years, 4 as Mr. Young Sachs's admin." "What's his title?" "He serves as CFO. Ms. Young remains CEO. She's currently out of the country." "So I heard." "And Biden?" "Mr. Biden is COO. Mr. Biden Sr. is retired." Her face changed subtly as she glanced toward the door. Eve detected a bump of heat as the boss walked in. She could all but smell the cool admin's pheromones pump out. Late 30s, Eve concluded. Poster boy handsome in the requisite excellent suit. He had a rich man's tan, a gym-fit body, and a quick, crooked smile women probably found charming. He also had the pinprick pupils of the high, if not the mighty. "Sorry for the wait. Carter Young Sachs." He took Eve's hand, squeezed it rather than shook, did the same with Peabody. "Let's have a seat. Tuva, how about some of your amazing coffee? She does something special." He winked. "I'm sorry, they didn't give me your names." "Lieutenant Dallas, Detective Peabody." "I thought I recognized you." He wagged a finger, and the carved band on his middle finger glinted. "Rourke's wife and the center of some Hollywood and New York excitement. Ty and I are going to the premiere. Tuva, we're entertaining celebrities here." "Police," Eve corrected. "We're not here to be entertained or for the amazing coffee." "Might as well have some. I'm looking forward to the premiere, especially now that I've had this tea." Another poster boy, dark to young Sachs's light, with the broody, sulky looks some women found as appealing as the crooked grin. He dropped down in a chair as if exhausted. "Tuva, how about another cup here? I could use some coffee." He gave Eve a subtle smirk. "So, hunting for clones?" "For killers," she countered. "Marta Dickinson's killers." "Who?" Once again, Tuva gave the information and brought the fresh cup. "I don't see what that has to do with me, us. Sorry about the woman, but they'll just put another number cruncher on it." I'd like your whereabouts from 9 to midnight, night before last. He rolled his eyes, but pulled out his date book. I took the corporate shuttle down to South Beach to a party. You wanted to do that poker thing, he said to young Sachs. Said you were feeling lucky. He lost. Biden jerked a thumb at his associate. I got lucky. Came back about 10 yesterday morning. We'll need to verify both of your alibis. Over some accountant? For the first time, Biden showed some interest and annoyance. Yes, over some accountant who was, at the time of her murder, conducting an audit on your company and whose office was broken into last night. Her copies of your files were taken. For crap's sake, that can't be good. As if unsure, young Sachs looked at Tuva. You would be wise to immediately inform your financial advisors and your lawyers, Tuva began, to change all passcodes to what the hell kind of dick-all security do they have over there at, where the hell is it? Brewer, Kyle, and Martini, Tuva supplied. We're firing their asses. You can bank on it. We aren't clients, Tuva told him. They were assigned by the courts. Then get the damn lawyers, and get somebody who's not a fucking idiot assigned. Are you aware, Eve put in, that Marta Dickinson's body was found by Bradley Whitestone outside of the building under remodeling for the Wynn Group? God damn it, get Robb on the link, Biden ordered, and give Rourke's get-out-of-jail-free card here the names of our lawyers. We're done. Eve rose slowly, and whatever he saw in her face had Biden shifting. No offense. Considerable taken. You want to be careful about offending cops, Mr. Biden, especially when you're mired in a murder investigation. Talk to the lawyers. I'm done. He shot to his feet. And get Robb now. Send it to my office. He stormed out. I apologize, young Sachs began. Ty tends to lash out when he's upset. Interesting. Someone certainly lashed out at Marta Dickinson. Thanks for the coffee. We'll be in touch. It was really good coffee, Peabody murmured as they walked back to the elevator. Chocolate. Just a little chocolate in the coffee. Are you sure? I know chocolate. Well, damn! I'm off sweets until after the premiere. It doesn't count, right? Because I didn't know it was there. Right. Eve stepped on the elevator, muttered, asshole. I know. Both of them, really, but young Sachs was kind of a benign asshole. Maybe due to being a little high, which makes him stupid as well as an asshole. The admin knows more than both of them put together. She's hot for the boss. She'd lie for him, no question. But he hasn't got the belly for murder. Not in person, anyway. The other? He could order it up like lunch. Whoever did that dealt with her. One of our competitors, I suspect. Do you have competitors that aggressive? It's an aggressive market, as you should know, as your husband is certainly fully involved in real estate. It seems unnaturally aggressive to put one auditor in the hospital and murder another just to access financial data. But, she said before he blustered in, we're investigating all avenues. As we are, I need to ask where you were on the night of the murder. A red flush bloomed across his cheekbones. You would dare? Oh, I would. If you refuse to answer, which is your right, I'll take that in a way you wouldn't care for. I don't like your attitude. I get that a lot, don't I, Peabody? Yes, sir, you do. Young woman, Lieutenant, Eve slapped back. Alexander's chest heaved twice. My father founded this firm before you were born, and I've run it for the last 7 years. We brokered the governor's country home. That's nice. I still need to know your whereabouts. It's routine, Mr. Alexander. It's not personal. It's personal to me.
I took my wife and a few friends to dinner at Top of the Apple. That would be after you met Jake Ingersoll of the Wynn Group for drinks. Like Galahad before breakfast, Alexander stared holes in her. She wasn't tempted to offer him bacon. Yes, we discussed business that I have no intention nor obligation to disclose to you. I returned home to meet my wife, and the car took us to the restaurant for our 8 o'clock reservations. We didn't leave until nearly midnight. Okay. There was a soft tap, something like a mouse scratch at the door. Come! Alexander boomed out, and the mouse scuttled in. I'm sorry I was held up. The painfully thin man with the long face, flanked by enormous ears, offered Eve a soft-palmed hand. Lieutenant Dallas, I recognize you, and Detective Peabody. It's very nice to meet you, and before the premiere. My wife and I are looking forward to it, and you and Zelda, too, Sterling. We don't have time for small talk, Alexander snapped. Of course, I'm sorry. I'm Thomas Pope. We need to get this mess sorted out, Tom. I know. Pope held up his hands. I know. I've contacted everyone we discussed. It'll be all right, Sterling. Someone's trying to sabotage us. We don't know that. Don't upset yourself. We weren't the only account taken. And a woman's dead. She's dead. He glanced at Eve. She had 2 children. I heard that on the media report. Yes. I need to ask you about your whereabouts on the night she was killed. Oh, my. Of course. I was home. We spent the evening at home, my wife and I. Our daughter was out with friends. We worry. She's 16. It's very worrying. We stayed in all evening, and our daughter came home at 10, on time. He smiled when he said it. Did you see or speak with anyone that evening, other than your wife and daughter? Actually, I spoke to my mother. Our mother, he corrected, glancing at Alexander. We're half-brothers. Is that so? Yes. I meant to tell you, Sterling, but everything's been so upside down I forgot. I spoke with my mother, and, oh yes, my on-the-right neighbor, when I walked the dog. Every sentence contained a hint of apology. I forgot to say I went out and walked the dog. We have a dog, and my neighbor and I usually walk our dogs together when we can. We did, about 9 o'clock. All right, thank you. This audit is required by your bylaws? It is, Alexander confirmed. My father wrote it in when he formed the company. He believes in full accounting. It's a way to keep your house clean. Pope cleared his throat. My mother always says that. She initially joined the firm as an associate, then became full partner. Though she and Mr. Alexander Sr. parted ways on a personal level, they remained business partners until their mutual retirement. There's no need to wave around family business, Alexander snapped out. It's interesting, Eve countered. Has there ever been any problems with previous audits? Absolutely not. Pope spoke first, then winced as he glanced at his half-brother. I don't mean to speak out of turn, but while there have been a few minor issues immediately resolved, we're very proud to run that clean house. Any chance I could get copies of those previous audits? Absolutely not. This time Alexander spoke first, and with an entirely different tone. Now that's all the time we can spend on this. Look to competitors. It's obvious this woman got caught up in something that cost her life. We're the victims here. Yeah, you're the victims. Thanks for your time. Eve bared her teeth when she and Peabody rode down to the lobby. Another asshole. The world's full of them. You'd never know by looking or listening to the two of them that they're related.
Alexander doesn't consider them related. He considers Pope a pain in the ass when he's not considering him a gopher. And Pope knows it. Alexander's playing the victim card and hard. And that buzzes for me. And Pope's just a little too self-effacing. She replayed the interview in her head as they crossed the lobby. Alexander plays the big deal, but his link didn't ring while we were in there, and you can bet your ass he didn't order a hold on communications for us. Pope's pocket link hummed 2 different times.
I didn't notice. I did notice how clear Alexander's desk was. No work on it.
I bet Pope does most of the down and dirty work, the inside work, while the other plays big shot. Doing the down and dirty gives you a lot of access.
He doesn't seem the type to steal, cheat, and kill.
A lot of people who steal, cheat, and kill don't, Peabody. That's why they steal, cheat, and kill until we catch them. Let's hit the next. The offices of Your Space spread over a 2-level downtown lot. Eve figured a family of 4 could live there comfortably, particularly as the design reflected a home rather than a workspace. Seating ranged around a sparkling fireplace topped with a mantel holding candlesticks and flowers. A second seating area aimed toward the wide window. In this second space, a woman demonstrated something on a tablet to a young couple who appeared to be engrossed. Rather than security, assistants, or hard-eyed admins, one of the 4 founders of the firm greeted Eve and Peabody personally. Letitia Vance. The tall, ebony-skinned knockout offered a brisk handshake. Angie's with some new clients, but I have some time. We can talk upstairs if you'd like. Can I get you anything? We have some fresh cookies. They're deadly. No, thanks, Eve said over Peabody, helping organize, reorganize, redesign office spaces. This space was Claire's idea. She gestured to indicate the loft. Offices don't have to look like offices to be productive and efficient. And we'd also be able to show clients what can be done, how much productivity and comfort they can pack into their space without clutter. Sorry, that was off topic. No, it's good to know. Marta contacted me. She wanted to surprise her husband, redo his home office space and their bedroom. We'd set up an appointment to go look at the site. Angie and I were to meet her there next Monday. Did you speak with her after she took over your audit? No. I intended to email her the next day just to touch base. We were all concerned for Jim, and I wanted to give her a little time to acquaint herself with our file, and then— You've been in business about 5 years? As we are now, yes. Business is good. It is. She brightened up again. Most people don't know how to get started, how to let go, repurpose, reimagine. That's what we do. And this audit is due to a potential merger. That's right. We were approached by a company that designs and makes organizing equipment and tools. They do a nice online business, but haven't been able to keep up more than a small storefront otherwise. What they need is an influx of cash and a connection. We're in talks about merging them into Your Space. Before we moved to the next step, we wanted solid figures, ours and theirs, so we insisted on full audits. If we do this, it's a big step. It would mean expanding, finding a retail and office space for that new end of the business, staffing it. We need to be sure we're ready, financially, and both parties have to be sure the foundation's there. Your financial advisor is on board with this? Fully aware, yes, and was working with Jim. I know, too, from the media reports, that Marta's body was found right there, at the new Wynn building. It's disturbing to have so many connections to murder. You work with Jake Ingersoll at Wynn. Yeah, a lot of energy, she said with a smile. Enthusiasm. We always say we feel like we could organize the world after a session with Jake. Angie talked to him well, here she is. The compact brunette moved quickly, striding in, sticking out a hand to Eve, then Peabody. Angie Carabelli, I have to say it's great to meet you, even though it's terrible. Our goal around here is to organize Rourke World. Angie, Letitia winced. Oh, come on, it's a fact. We're all so sorry about Marta. We liked her, and we were looking forward to working with her. What do you need to know? We can get this out of the way if both of you can tell me where you were on the night of the murder, from 9 to midnight. Angie looked at Letitia. Don't you get tired of always being right? No. Tisha said the cops would come, and they'd ask that exact question. I said, they will not. Why? And she said, connections, Letitia finished. So we talked about it, all of us. To get your story straight, Eve said mildly. God, that's just what that sounded like. Angie let out a choked laugh. No, just to prepare, especially since the report said you were in charge, though we still figured you'd just send some other detectives. But I was hoping you'd come because I have this Rourke goal. Professionally, she added with a smile. If it's in Angie's head, passcodes, alerted our credit companies and so on. It sounds like someone's screwing with Brewer more than with us. Not assholes, Peabody concluded as she climbed back into the car. No, but not assholes also cheat, steal, and kill. I don't see any motive. Maybe there's something off with this merger. Maybe one of them's skimming and the others don't know about it. Eve shrugged. I don't get a buzz either, but the connections are there. I like them. I wonder how much they charge. McNabb and I could use some organizing at our place. At the moment, Eve was more interested in organizing her notes and her brain. I've got a consult with Mira coming up, and I want to put some of this together before we hit the Wynn partners again. You start checking alibis top to bottom. I'm going to reach out to Vegas PD, see what there is to see on this accident that started this ball rolling. Chapter 10. She had considerable to deal with back on her own turf. Detectives needed to run investigations by her or update her on the status. She had to read and decipher McNabb's report on the Brewer building security and on his progress on the VIX desk unit. Her own board and book required updating. Then she needed coffee and a few quiet minutes to process. As she added the last photos to her board, Trueheart tapped on her door jamb. Sorry to bother you, Lieutenant. Have you got a minute? Hey, I know her. Who? He stepped in, tapped Holly Novak's picture. Intrigued, Eve gave the photo of the Your Space partner another study. Attractive, mixed race, leaning Asian. A dark wedge of hair around a lively face with light green eyes. How and where? I'm looking for it, he said. Oh, yeah, they hired her, her company, to organize and streamline my mother's office. I mean, the office where my mother works. I was over there one day and met her. Is she a suspect? I don't think so, but give me a take. Friendly, energetic. Ruthless, my mom said, but in a good way. Mom liked her, I know that. She said how she wished my aunt would hire her. She's kind of a pack rat, my aunt. And when she found out I was a cop, out of Central, she said how she bet we could use a good organizer. Made kind of a joke about fighting crime through spatial efficiency. I thought it was pretty funny. He scanned the board as he spoke. She and her company are connected to the Dickinson murder. There are a lot of connections to the Dickinson murder. Big business, big money. At Eve's questioning look, he flushed just a little. That's young Sachs and Biden. They get a lot of media, business, and gossip. The new breed of movers and shakers and that kind of thing. Take? Well, for me, spoiled, entitled, and showy. That's probably not fair since it's media stuff and that gets overblown. No, I'd say it's fair and accurate in this case. And add assholes. I guess that one was my take too. I'd say that sums it up. What do you need, Trueheart? Oh, sorry, Lieutenant. Nothing, really. I just wanted to thank you for giving me a chance at the detective's exam. You earned the chance, and Baxter made a solid case for you. The rest is up to you. Yes, sir. I won't let you down. You took me off sidewalk sleeper detail, he continued quickly. You brought me into Central and assigned me to Baxter so he could train me. He's taught me a lot, Lieutenant, a lot about a lot. I'm not going to let either of you down. You do good work, Trueheart. As long as you do, you can't let anybody down. Yes, sir. All I want is to do good work. And a detective's shield, he added with a quick and easy grin. Don't screw up the work, study, you'll have the shield. Now beat it. Alone, she closed her office door, got her coffee. She sat at her desk, propped her feet up. Drinking, she studied the board. Spoiled, entitled, and showy for one group. She'd define another as pompous, angry, and envious, with a side of timid thrown in. And the third? Ambitious, tightly woven, and efficient. But did any of those attributes equal murder? Your space. It just didn't click. Maybe there was something she wasn't seeing yet, but she'd set them aside for now. Young Biden. They had more than the previous generation, and did less to earn it. Young Sachs, not only sleeping with his admin, but depending on her for everything. And from what Eve could see, he knew dick all about his own company's workings, and cared less if he got high during working hours. Maybe Biden knew more. She'd have a look-see on that, but from what she'd taken away from the brief meeting, he enjoyed his expensive suits, expensive lifestyle, and had no problem flinging insults around. Alexander and Pope, big shot, reveling in his big shottiness, treated his half-brother like an underling, which Pope appeared to accept. Processing considerable data, following all possible leads, interviewing those we feel may connect to her death in some way. You sent a unit to my brother's home, as a precaution after the break-in at your sister-in-law's office. Yes. All right. It's easy to become accustomed to being in charge, to having the authority. It's difficult to find yourself in a situation where you're not in charge, you don't have the authority. You have to leave that in the hands of someone else. It doesn't matter if you know those hands are capable. They're not your hands. She held hers out, looked at them, closed them. I went with my brother to see his wife this morning, to see Marta. Of all the things I've seen, of all the things that have come through my courtroom, nothing has been as horrible. She cleared her throat. My brother and his family will stay with me and mine for the time being. He thought it would be easier for the children to be at home, with their own things around them, but it's too painful for them, for all of us. He'll be with me if you need to reach him. Again, I'm sorry, sincerely sorry, Your Honor, for your loss. When I have something I can share, I'll let you all know at the first possible opportunity. She nodded, then looked back at the board, Do you think her killer is up there? I don't know. But I think the reason for her murder is up there. The reason leads to the person or persons. I'll take that away with me and let you get back to work. As the door shut behind Jung, Eve dragged a hand through her hair. Grief, she thought, always left a weight in the air. She grabbed the jacket she'd tossed off when she'd come in, and a short straw. I'm sorry. Everything points to it. 2 auditors get banged up, put out of commission. She inherits some of their files. Hours later, she's dead in what the killers hope we'll see as a violent mugging. Hours after that, the offices where she works are compromised, her computer messed with, and the files and the master copies go missing. Short straw. Yes, I see. I agree, insofar as her murder was impersonal and poorly masked. You called it semi-pro in your report. I think that's very accurate. I've got these honchos, okay? Companies I'm taking a hard look at. I've got Rourke doing his thing. Who knows business and numbers and money better? So he may give me more to take a hard look at, or eliminate some I'm looking at now. But the honchos all have, let's say, attributes that could have them order the murder of an accountant. She's just a tool, and the wrong tool at that, which makes her a potential liability. It was rushed. Both the time frame and the profile of the killing were rushed. Still, honchos, as you say, can afford full professionals. Can afford, Eve agreed, but maybe don't see the need to pay. You've got security of some kind on the payroll already. Put them on it. Give them a little bonus on the side. She's just a droid, basically. No big deal. Their needs outweigh hers. Mira nodded as she sipped tea. They can't concern themselves with the lives of those who work for them, work under them. Mira sipped again and considered. I'd like to read your interview reports from this morning. I'll get them to you. I would say you're dealing with brutish, cold-blooded, and physically trained individuals for the actual killing. Those who do what they're told, but don't think for themselves. Taking the victim away from her workplace, leaving her body blocks from where she would have been, shows a lack of logic. She was supposed to walk to the subway, but they didn't know that. They, or the one who hired them, may have assumed she'd walk home. Added to it, the location was convenient. An empty building, and one it appears they could easily access. Not worried about the connection, maybe because it's rushed, it's convenient. It's just a mugging. It's just an accountant. Whoever hired them, if they were indeed hired, also doesn't consider the long view. It's immediate, quick gratification rather than careful planning and finesse. The concern is the files, the data, which may be incriminating in some way, not the victim. She is disposable. It's not cruelty, it's callousness. It's business. Yes, it's business. And how do you run and maintain a successful business when you aren't inclined to look at the long view, at the details, when you brute your way through a problem? Eve sat back. You inherit it. Mira smiled. Cynical, and in this case high probability. The killers themselves, as I said, brutes. No sexual aspect, no rage, no personal agenda. Though the actual killing is a kind of showing off. Showing off? I'm strong. See how strong? I can snap a neck with my bare hands. Quickly and cleanly, according to Morris's report. They have a stunner, which is lethal used on full with contact, but go with brute force. Yes, showing off and completing the kill with his own hands rather than a weapon or tool. He's the weapon.
Okay. Eve tried it out in her head. Yeah. Okay. And maybe he needed to show off, since he stunned an unarmed woman in the back, and that's cowardly. He had to offset that, maybe.
I believe so. And the source? Impatient, impulsive, accustomed to having what he wants and quickly, with a distinct lack of compassion or attention to those who do the work so that he can live as he lives.
That pretty much eliminates 4 of my suspects.
Mira smiled. Which 4?
4 women. 5, counting their office manager. Your space. They didn't inherit anything. They came from the middle-class pool, and they pay attention to details. It's part of what they do. They're organized and they're efficient. If they'd targeted the Vic, I think it would have been done right. It would have been done very tidy, very clean.
Is that a compliment?
It is, actually. And they understand time budgeting. The Vic didn't have time to get that far in the files. Killing her was inefficient. Okay, I can't take them off the list, but I can keep my focus elsewhere. It saves me time. Thanks.
I'll let you know what I think after I look at your interview reports.
Good enough. Eve rose, surprised to find her cup nearly empty. She didn't remember drinking the damn stuff. So, I thought I should tell you I had this dream last night. Concern clouded Mira's eyes.
Dream?
Get the job done, but don't go an inch further to do it right. They kill a woman because that's the job, but the woman doesn't have to be killed to reach the objective. They come in after the fact to clean up and don't check all the corners. They use a location for the kill that rings bells. Vic's an auditor, big money. Crime scenes, the property of financial advisors, big money. And the 2 firms have some overlaps. Sloppy. Yeah, but, like, half sloppy. Like, if I were doing an eval report, I'd put down, does the job, but doesn't think outside the box, isn't able to assess the situation as it evolves and adjust accordingly. Trueheart's going for the detective's exam after the first of the year. Feeney swiveled back and smiled. He's come along. He has. See, he's not green anymore, but he's still fresh. He's always going to be fresh because that's who he is. But I know if I sent him out on assignment, he wouldn't just get the job done. He'd tie up the details. He'd adjust as the situation called for it. He might make a mistake. He doesn't have much time on him, but he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. No argument. Trueheart gets credit for that because, yeah, it's who he is. Baxter gets credit for that because he's trained him and trained him well. I get credit because I saw there was something to be trained and brought him over, and I get credit because I'm the boss of both of them. And you get the blame when they fuck up or do something half-assed. Exactly. So, you've got a couple goons. That's how I see it. The killing wasn't slick. It wasn't messy. It was down, dirty, done, with little screw-ups. Broke her neck, right? Yeah, which Mira says was showing off, and that rings true. You've got the brute for that. Then you've got a hacker who knows his business and gets through decent, but not stellar security, through more security into the Vic's comp, into her supervisor's safe. He got the job done, but he doesn't run it through and see that the Vic made copies of the goddamn files he's gone to all that trouble to steal. He did his job. The goon or goons did theirs. But bad management. Yes! She lifted her arms to punch her fists lightly in the air. Bad fucking management. Now you're all pissed off because the cops are coming in the door when you practically put out the welcome mat for them, and I still can't be sure who it is. Do you have any idea who it isn't? Yeah, I got some of those. It's a start. They're all various kinds of assholes, and looking at them, I can see any one of them doing this, ordering this. Even if I figure out who, it's likely to be circumstantial right now, and I haven't figured out the why, not altogether. It's money. It's gotta be money. It's greed. Or Rourke used avarice. That's classier greed, right? Feeney poked out his bottom lip with a nod. Sounds classier. Avarice. You've got it, so you're wading through it. But you want more. You'll cheat, steal, and kill for more, and to protect yourself. Have you got your rich guy looking at the financials? Yeah. If anybody can find the why. Look at the spouses. They don't all have one. I bet they all get sex somewhere. The spouse either knows or just spends the money without giving a rat's ass. If they're not banging anyone specific regularly, then you find out who they pick up, hook up with, or pay. Greedy people like to talk about money, how much they have. He doesn't see the people who work for him, she continued. I don't know if that includes a spouse, but it would be a licensed companion, a hookup, a side piece. Sex and money, always a winning combo. She took a handful of his almonds, popped one as she rose. Thanks. Something to poke around in. Greedy bastards who kill women deserve a cage just like sons of bitches who cyberstalk and rape them. Fucking A. Hey, he called out as she started out. The wife says I have to rent a monkey suit for the premiere thing. I don't know, Feeney. Mira just told me she made her husband buy a new one. What kind of crazy shit is this? Who needs to wear a monkey suit to watch a damn vid? I've got to wear a dress and stilts and put crap all over my face. Don't cry to me because you have to wear a tux. Crazy shit, he complained. Fucking A, she agreed, and went on her way. Chapter 11. Back in her office, Eve ran a search through gossip and society sites, hoping to mine a couple of gems. While it worked, she contacted Vegas PD and did the dance necessary to score a copy of the police report on the accident that had injured Arnold and Parzari. Another contact garnered the information that both men would be cleared to travel the following day. She intended to hit both of them for interviews as soon as possible. While she waded through gossip, clothes, hair, hookups, breakups, tune-ups, she ran yet another search on Alexander's wife, Pope's wife, Tuva Gunnarsson, and Newton's fiancé. Enough, she decided. Enough to start. Gathering her things, she walked out to the bullpen. Peabody, with me. I can't find anyone on the list who owns the cargo van, Peabody said, stuffing her arms into her coat as she caught up with Eve. Relatives, friends, rentals? Nothing that's hit yet, but I'm still digging. Did you know, for instance, Chaz Parzari has 14 first cousins, and 11 of them live in New York or New Jersey? I did not have that information. Eve squeezed onto the elevator, wondering why the hell it was always so crowded when she needed to use it. Unless one of them owns a Maxima cargo, I don't need that information. Well, just saying that's a lot of first cousins, and none of them owns a Maxima cargo. But I'm digging on the people as well as their potential vehicles, just looking for any red flags. Gambling, whoring, unusual travel. Good management, Eve thought, and gave herself a mental pat on the back.
Good management contributed to good work. And, so far, you're sort of expected gambling, whoring, and travel, except for the married guys and the engaged guy on the whoring thing. If they're tapping LCs, they're doing it with cash and with care. The woman wedged in the front corner, wearing a skirt the size of a dinner napkin, high-laced boots, pink foaming hair Eve hoped was a wig, and a whopper of a black eye, snapped an impressive wad of gum. "You gotta report the cash," she said conversationally. "You can give a credit discount if you want, 'cause you don't have to pay the credit fee, but you gotta report it." "Is that so? Note that down, Peabody." "How'd you get the mouse?" Eve asked her. An associate and me had a difference of opinion about a client. "Bitch popped me. I just filed a complaint, 'cause you gotta have it on record, right? Officer Mills was real nice about it. He didn't even want a free BJ. "That's nice." "I'm all about giving freebies to cops and firefighters when I can, to show my support. And the city of New York thanks you." The woman beamed, snapped her gum, then sailed off the elevator when the doors opened on the main floor. Grateful nearly everyone else in the car exited along with the LC, Eve shifted for some breathing room. "Okay, Peabody, pick it up." "I guess she hasn't figured out offering a free blowjob to a cop's considered a bribe." "Just trying to do her civic duty." "Right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. The young Biden team likes gambling. Win some, lose some, and I say that as if winning or losing more than I make in a year at the tables or on a horse is no big deal. They, Alexander and Ingersoll, travel a lot. Bunches, to really frosty places, including some I've never heard of. Newton does some traveling and likes sports betting, minor league stuff on the betting. Just friendly amounts. Whitestone travels mostly for business, but does it upright. He also likes to scuba, and he's taking some trips with that at the center." "They all live within their considerable means, or so it appears," Eve said, as they got off on her level of the garage, "and live according to what we'd call their privileged or semi-privileged lifestyle. And that lifestyle includes spouses, fiancés, lovers, exes, LCs, and, you bet your ass, side pieces. You don't really think that mousebait Pope has a side piece. That type can surprise you and bang like a drum. Have you ever been banged by mousebait?" "No." Their footsteps echoed. Somewhere on a higher level, someone gunned an engine. "But Mavis dated this guy for a while back in the day who looked like one of those garden gnomes. She said he went at it like a rabid mink. Don't trust appearances." "That's true." Peabody jumped in the car. "Take McNabb. He's adorable, but he's got that skinny frame. But he can go like a turbo thruster. Jesus, Peabody, I don't want to hear about McNabb's thrusting abilities. They're exceptional. Just the other night he— Don't. Eve slapped a hand at the corner of her eye when it twitched, then bared her teeth at Peabody's muffled chuckle. "You did that on purpose." "I just wanted to see if it still worked. It'll always work, just like my boot will always fit up your ass." "They're nice boots," Peabody said cheerfully. "But Angie at your space liked mine. You must be proud." "We're going to start with X's," Eve continued before Peabody could brag on her boots, again. "Young Sachs has one who runs a fancy boutique in the meatpacking district." "How do you know?" "You're not the only one who can troll for gossip." The fancy boutique offered screens scrolling a constant shift of outfits highlighting one feature. The leopard knee boots with the short black dress, the short black dress with silver heels and a complicated silver scarf,
The silver scarf with jeans, a red top, and a vest. Little beams of light spotlighted each piece at its place on a rack or shelf as they appeared on screen. It made Eve mildly dizzy. Compact and curvy, Brandy Dyson stood on heeled boots and moved like a lightning bolt until Eve managed to corner his mother, expecting him to actually work, and Biden's smarter and meaner. All that, and she sidestepped a couple of women loaded down with shopping bags, bubbling over with excitement over some sale and not watching where the hell they were going. He likes going after what's not his, then doesn't appreciate it once he's got it, Eve added. He's tight enough with his financial guy to push him on someone else, and does it in such a way that indicates said money guy isn't above skirting around the edges. That, too. Which doesn't mean he'd kill or arrange for a killing, but it does confirm he's stupid enough to do it, and do it half-assed. I want you to go talk to a few more exes. Feel them out. Good times. Yeah, I figured you'd see it that way. People hustled or breezed or wandered by. Some talked on links, like the guy pleading into his for Michelle to give him 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, baby. Some took vids, like the group of Asian tourists in I Heart New York ski caps posing in front of a storefront. Others ate on the run, like the man chomping down on a loaded soy dog. The buzz of voices and varied languages, the movement and pace typified New York to Eve. But right now she wished they'd all just get the hell out of the way so she didn't have to weave through them. I'm going to do another run at the Wynn Group. Then I'm going to my home office, see what I can put together, she told Peabody. We're going to push at Arnold and Parzari tomorrow, as soon as they're back. It's one of them, one of the Wynn Group, and one of the 4 dicks we talked to today. Or 2 of the 4. We'll whittle it down. If we can pin any one of them, we've got all of them. She heard the faint whine. At least the impact had knocked the air out of the kid, too, as the shrieking stopped. But with a mighty gasp, the child let out a scream so sharp she wondered the air around them didn't split in 2. Her ears rang in a chorus of crazed church bells. "It's okay! You're okay!" Panting, Peabody lifted the kid, its sex undetermined in its bright red hat and coat. "You're just fine now, little man, just fine." With the pressure somewhat relieved with the lack of the kid's weight, Eve wheezed in air. "How do you know it's a male?" Peabody patted the kid as she crouched down to Eve. "Are you okay? How bad are you hurt?" "I don't know. Not bad." Unless she counted the throbbing in her chest where the kid hit, in her ass where she'd hit, in her head where it had slammed, and some singing in her just-healed shoulder. Fucker. Peabody winced, straightened to turn toward the hysterical woman running toward her. "My baby! My baby! Chucky!" The father, eyes glazed, face white but for the dribbles of blood, staggered after her as the crowd moved in. "He's fine, just fine. Hey, Chucky, here's your mama. Everybody move back," Peabody ordered. Mother and son clung to each other, sobbing, while Eve pushed herself up. The world did a little shimmer and dance, then righted. "Move back, please," Peabody repeated, and took the father's arm. "Sir, you need to sit down a minute." "What happened? What happened?" "I'm gonna call the medicals. Please, just sit down here. Ma'am, I want you and Chucky to sit right here. I'll call it in," she told Eve. "You ought to sit down, too." "I'm okay. Just knocked the wind out of me." "You caught him!" The mother turned her tear-streaked face to Eve. "You caught him! You saved my baby!" "Okay, let's—" and she had the wind knocked out of her again as the woman grabbed her, digging the kid's feet into her groin in the desperately grateful embrace. The singing in her shoulder became an anthem. "Peabody?" "Ma'am." Peabody shifted her tone to croon as she peeled the woman off Eve. "I want you to sit right here, you and your family. I'm gonna need to get some information, okay?" Eve stepped out of the trampled grass, gritted her teeth against the twinges in her ass, her shoulder. "Fucker," she thought again, scanning the high line. He was long gone. "What the hell?" Peabody managed, when they'd finally turned the family and the situation over to uniforms and MTs. "Son of a bitch! Son of a bitch! Stunned me in the back! Fucking coward asshole bastard!" "He stunned you? How did—" "Your magic coat." "Yeah." Eve rubbed a hand over the leather. "It definitely works. I felt the impact, like a thump on the back, a slight burn. Milder and slighter, let me tell you, than you get with standard vests. I caught the whine of it. He had you zeroed in next." "So you tackled me. Thanks for that. My coat's not magic." Bastard could move, really move. He went up those stairs like they were a glide. I couldn't fire, not with all those damn people swarming everywhere, but I was gaining on him, a little. I couldn't keep up with either of you, but I was trying to get some backup while I trailed you. Then, Jesus, all I saw was that kid flying through the air." He didn't even hesitate. She bore down again as she maneuvered her body out of the car at the base of the steps of home. Just had to get by Dr. Doom, up the stairs, into the tub. A solid soak would do the trick. Breathing carefully, she stepped inside. Somerset scanned her, top to toe. "I suppose it couldn't last forever." "What?" Just had to get up the stairs that, right that minute, looked like the towering side of an Alp. "Getting through the day without injury." "Who says I'm injured?" "Slamming into the ground as you did would jar the body, bruise the points of impact." She imagined that was his delicate way of referring to her ass, but she still didn't like it. When the cat wound his pudgy way through her legs, she realized she'd probably whimper out loud if she tried bending to pet him. There was a lot of grass. Regardless. "Oh, don't be an idiot," he snapped at her. "Take the elevator." "I'm fine. Just a little stiff." She started for the steps, gave up. Crawling up them lost more pride points than just walking past him to the damn elevator. "I assume you refused any medical attention. You want ice and heat, on and off, and a blocker." He was probably right, but she wanted that damn tub like she wanted to breathe. "I'm fine," she repeated. "You're young, fit, quick, and have excellent reflexes," he said as she walked to the elevator. "Because of that, a child is being pampered and spoiled by his parents right now, instead of lying in a hospital. Or worse. Take a blocker. He'll only make you when he gets home, and he's on his way." Somerset held out a little blue pill. "Take it now, and I can tell him you did." Simpler to just take it, she decided, because he was right again. Rourke would shove one down her throat if she didn't, and that was stupid all around. Fine. She took it, swallowed it. "Ice," he repeated. "I don't want ice unless it's in a really big drink." She stepped into the elevator. "Master bedroom," Somerset ordered, before she could do so herself. So she just closed her eyes, leaned against the wall, and let it take her where she wanted to go. She'd been hurt worse, she reminded herself. A hell of a lot worse. Despite that dubious qualifier, she felt as if every muscle, bone, and tendon in her body had been pulled, knocked, and strained. The blocker would help, for now, but it wouldn't help the aches and stiffness tomorrow, and they'd be a distraction, an annoyance. They'd just be in her way. So she'd deal with them. When she stepped out into the bedroom, heard the elevator door whisk closed behind her, she allowed herself a long, heartfelt, moaning sigh. And that was enough self-indulgence. She eased out of her coat, blessing it for its stun-proof lining, but at the moment it felt impossibly heavy. She started to pull off her jacket, realized when her shoulder pinged that sometime during the dash, leap, twist, catch, and fall, she'd wrenched it good and proper, and it had barely healed from a much nastier injury during a life-and-death struggle with Isaac McQueen a few weeks before. She fumbled with her weapon harness, carefully slipped it off. And Rourke walked into the